All right, Shalom. I want to give all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Bahashem Makakadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Salutations to all the brothers and the few sisters that's out there, or just like foreigners. They see that Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Shalom in the Hebrew, which means peace. This is the best, not the best, but it's one of a good rendition of how America became so significant power, such a significant power in the world. So I'm gonna let this play, and I might say a few words and see how it goes. Shalom.
Gold, and we're selling you stuff. This is where Americans have this myth that war is good for the economy. War is good for the economy if you're not in it and you're selling them the tools of the trade.
Yes, America.
And why do people say that? Where a majority of people don't see no benefit at all, personally, in their pockets because of the war. The money doesn't go to the people. The money goes to the people that funded and aiding the presidents at hand. Prime example, you had he was a vice president simultaneously. It's kind of ironic. Halliburton, which was George Bush's vice president, but he was making billions of dollars off of a war that had nothing to do with 9/11. So he made money. Everybody else didn't make money from that. So I just wanted to say that.
National income gets bigger and bigger. In 1943, it was $142 billion. That was double the 1939 figure, triple the figure for 1933.
But by the end of World War II, the U.S. had 2/3 of all the world's monetary gold, the central bank gold, and the rest of the world had to share the other third, and Europe had none. So the world monetary system was no longer going to work. It would collapse.
And that's how America became the world's most powerful nation. It was after World War II. That was the peak of America at its highest point. So remember, if you know the history, the U.S. did not get into they came into the war, both world wars, at the last moment. They was not trying to be involved. The only reason why America was involved in World War II because of Pearl Harbor, which come to find out, Pearl Harbor wasn't what they claim it to be. So all this was just, predicated, and here they come to save the day. As like in a hero in a movie. Just like how any empire at its strongest peak, that was the strongest peak right there. All right, after World War II, the world was using the U.S. dollars as a currency. In exchange for using the U.S. dollars, you had to go by gold standard.
But we had made all these loans of dollars to Europe, so Europe was flooded with dollars. And so representatives from around the world met at Bretton Woods, New Hampshire in 1944. They came up with a new world monetary system called the Bretton Woods system, where every currency on the planet, with the exception of just a few, they would be backed by the U.S. dollar, and the U.S. dollar would then be backed by gold at $35 per ounce.
And that's where this place really truly peaked. And right now what's happening, the people are resisting the dollar. It has become a drug. And he's going to break it down as we always break it down, as far as how it went from his greatest high to his lowest low. And this is the reason why you can have, and the new level of poverty here in America is $104,000. $104,000 as living comfortably or living good. While everything else below that is poverty. So this is the peak. This is how they got created, the peak. And you're going to hear.
This gave confidence to all currencies. So this gave the world stability, and it pegged all the world's currencies to each other through the dollar to gold. So there was no such thing as the forex. Currencies didn't float. The exchange rates were fixed year after year, and this helped to make world trade boom. Then the dollar standard starts because we kept on printing dollars. Under the Bretton Woods system, there was no reserve ratio established where the U.S. actually had to have a certain amount of gold for how many dollars we created. So we had done a bunch of deficit spending for Korea, for Vietnam, for Johnson's Great Society, and expanded the currency supply, the amount of paper dollars in circulation, and exported them all over the world. And then in the 60s, Charles de Gaulle, president of France, realizes that we don't have the gold to back up the dollars. France asks for their gold and trades in the dollars. And at that point, other countries saw this and start jumping on board.
And the reason why they realized, because it was not technically, that the U.S. didn't have the gold to give back. That's the only thing that this faltered at. They didn't have the gold to give it back. So they established an organization called the EPA, Environmental Protection Agency, which until gave France some U.S. territory. So instead of giving back the gold, they gave back other sources of things. All right. Yes, the United States of America has been for sale for a long period of time. Okay.
And the U.S. lost 50% of its gold from 1959 to 1971, but we still had in 71 about 12 times more dollars that we had created than there was gold. And this run on the bank, basically, the U.S. now being the bank, this is a giant worldwide bank run, because the U.S. for the second time had committed a fraud and created more receipts for gold than there was gold. It's that simple. Then finally the markets sort of sensed this, and Nixon was forced to take us off the gold standard, because if he had paid out gold until it got to zero, once we couldn't pay on some of those dollars, the entire worldwide monetary system would have collapsed.
That shows you this international New World Order conglomerate is a failure waiting to happen. Because when one side of the world collapses, everybody's affected by it. So this whole US dollar was bound to fall. All right. Matter of fact, I didn't have this in the last one. Proverbs 11. No. 24. Proverbs. No, I'm looking for, but it's alright. So we have this. It could be 19. That's for sure. Is Proverbs 23:5. But thou set thine eyes upon that which is not, for riches certainly make themselves wings. They fly away as an eagle towards heaven. So they have people chasing something that's always faulted. They created a false exchange of money. So when everybody believe that this is money, and it worked for a long period of time, I must say. You could take the US, let's say $20, and you go to what they call a third world country, the ratio of that money is high. You get a lot more than the locals. But there were certain places in the world, like if you go to Europe, you spend more dollar wise. Especially the UK. But all these are fiat currencies, which fiat means you just make it whatever you want. Currencies, so they just made it however they want, and you could go to the bank and try to get your money back, but you have to let them know in advance so they can get if you have over a certain amount of money, because the bank uses that as collateral. We live in a fairy tale world, a very delusional world that they built because they refuse to back up the things of this world with real money. Oh wow. Proverbs 26 and 6. For by wise counsel thou shalt make thy war, and the multitude of thy counselors there is safety. Let me see. Hold on. So Esau don't use wise counsels at all. Because if he had took the wise counsel, he would have known that the way they had it was going to last so long, and how they see silver and gold is a standard. So if you have silver or gold, that would be the standard for all exchanges. So when it comes to war, you have to have a lot more silver or gold than your adversary, right? But if you have fiat currency, you have an endless supply of money. You have endless wars. So everything is depicted by however they feel. Hold on for a second. It says Zephaniah 1 and 11. How inhabitants of Maktesh, for all the merchant people are cut down, all they that bear silver are cut off. Because eventually all this wrongful dealings is going to come to an end, which is going to cause the ultimate collapse. Everything's connected, and this collapse that's about to happen, which the first collapse, yeah, that was sabotage as well. So this is another self-demolition collapse, but that's what the Lord is going to allow to happen, because there's been a lot of dealings that is not right. And this is why the situation with Venezuela, it goes deep, because I remember, everybody should remember that one. It was Maduro. He wanted to go to London to give back the gold to Venezuela, and they refused because they said they don't recognize him as the elected president. So they refused to give them his gold back to them. So everybody's out here pretending like, oh, it's about certain policies. Nah, it's always been the same thing. It's about gold and silver. They want the real thing, and they want to give the fiat bullshit, which is going to cause a major collapse. And when this collapse happens, everybody loses. Everybody. Well, actually, I think this is my second or third time doing this. Let's see if it's still there. Yep. Currently, the United States of America, this says the national debt, but it's more than that. But let's go by what this says, $38 trillion. Each person, and notice it's in the red, each person owes over $111,000. All right, you apply that, what did I say earlier, through the spirit, about the actual new poverty line. everybody out here is screwed. So technically, let's say if you make that much money, over 104,000 to live comfortably, that means you only have $7,000 to yourself. So that's worth of savings because you owe, every person owes. All right, everybody owes. So if you want to figure out how they're gonna pay that shit back, there's no paying back. This is how they're gonna introduce the microchip to everything. But before I go into that, well, I got all this. Revelation 17 and 16. 17? 16. No, 17 actually. It says, for the Most High put in their hearts to fulfill his will. And then when you go up, which I'm just going to just break it down. I'll make this too long. It was talking about the woman that sat upon the waters. The waters represent the people. Right? The woman represents America. And the beast represents NATO, EU. So they all agreed that they was going to allow America to be the standard bearer. But what they didn't understand was how short-lived this alliance will be. And this is when Trump came into office, he said pretty much the EU have to do their part. Why he say that? Because what's keeping the EU afloat and paying off the army, their armies, is the United States of America. Because of that agreement that they made many, many years ago. But eventually, the beast shall hate the whore and burn her. All right. That's, I didn't even put that in there. Obadiah 1. Actually, I don't know. 7. All the men of that confederacy have brought thee even to the border. That border is Iran. The United States of America is heading to a war that is not going to get itself out of, which we all know as World War III. But the caveat is Iran. All right. It says, the men that were at peace with thee have deceived thee and prevailed against thee. They that eat thy bread have laid a wound under thee. There's none understanding in him. So eating the bread is the supply, the support. They spend billions of dollars into that welfare state of Israel, right? Also, they supply and aid NATO, EU. So the ironic part about it all, despite that they give the money to these places, they still gonna burn this bitch. Something that America's gonna do is gonna piss them off. But overall, it's gonna be in the hands of the Lord, even for them to consider that. So we could clearly see something major is about to go down here in this world. Something major is about to go down. But that's the brief history that was shown of this whole money system that they established. This little alliance right here gave America the #1 spot in the world because everybody had to deal with America's currency. But now they found other avenues, different alliances to exchange goods with. And I believe one of the main reasons why Gaddafi was taken out was because he trying to do exchanges in euro if I'm not mistaken, for oil, and the United States wasn't having it. All right, something to that thing. I think something to that effect. But I know definitely he wanted to exchange. He had gold backing, and he wanted the African nations to deal with their currency, but in gold, like backed up by gold. So either way, it was a threat to the U.S. dollar. All right, who now became, well, not now, was the number one currency on the planet Earth. No longer. That being said, shalom to the elect of the nation Israel. Shalom.